The following program is a Creative Magic Network production. Hey guys, December 3rd is the deadline to enter the contest to win Len Secretan's powerful book on inspiring leadership, titled The Spark, the Flame, and the Torch. Inspire yourself, inspire others, inspire the world. And the best part, the book is in hardcover. That's right, hardcovers are hard to get these days. So if you haven't already, you can enter the contest by going to frederickbuy.com. That's Frederick with a C, buy like bye-bye.com, and enter your email in the pop-up that will appear at the top of your screen. Have a great episode. You're listening to What's Your Excuse with Max Ivy, known around the world as the Blind Blogger. People often say, if Max can do it, then why can't I? Here's Max Ivy.
Hello there, and good morning. Welcome to another episode of the What's Your Excuse show. I'm Max Ivy, also known as the Blind Blogger, and I'm here with my good friend Frederick Buy, as well as our guest today and a longtime friend of mine and everything that I do online, Robin Hallett. And look forward to having a great conversation, and hopefully she can help people with some of the things that are holding them back in their lives. So how are you doing today, Frederick?
I am doing fabulous. I'm excited to be here because we're going to talk to somebody special today. Robin Hallett is an intuitive healer, a rock star reader, a spiritual teacher, and an awesome artist. I love these titles, really. And you can find her at robinhallett.com. That's Robin, R-O-B-I-N, Hallett, Hallett.com. So how are you today, Robin?
I am wonderful. I'm so happy to be talking to you both.
Awesome. Take it away, Max.
Yeah, it's people are going to start to wonder if the only people I have on my show are people I know that are my friends that have been part of my journey. But so far, I've just been lucky that people who have been part of this story are agreeing to come on my show. So thank you very much, Robin.
Well, I love you, and we've been on this journey together, since I first came online, and we've been friends and pen pals and support and inspiration. And I think it's great to have a posse to ride with.
Yeah. That's one of the things I've always loved about you is you refer to your community as your love posse. And also, of course, even though I can't see them, I really, you do have some of the most amazing artwork on your website as well.
Thank you.
Yes. And thankfully, Robin has even gotten to where she describes her artwork for me. So I can almost play along at home.
Mm-hmm. It's true. And I think it's kind of in the beginning, your inspiration that went with a love sheriff and a cowboy and, those kinds of Southern inspirations.
Yeah. So why don't you tell people a little bit more about who Robin is and how you became the spiritual teacher and healer that you are today, and then we'll go from there.
I have been intuitive since I was a little kid. I don't know if you know these stories, Max. I would see things. I'd be in kindergarten and see things in the classroom and just be saying them out loud, assuming everybody else did too. And the teacher would always come to me and say, "Shh, that's enough, Robin." I just had this way of seeing things. And my speciality is in seeing the love inside of people and the light and inspiration and their ability to really shine bright in their lives. And I've always known since that time that each of us has a specific mission and task. And there's only one of us on purpose in the world, and we have to show up as ourselves. And so my gifts and talents, if you will, they're always about that. I want to help liberate the light in people. I want to help overcome obstacles. And I'm good at pointing out what's holding us back because let's face it, we all have issues around shining brightly and feeling confident. And the little wacky stories that hold us back and convince us to not take those steps out into the limelight. That's what I love to help people with.
Yeah, and I do know most of your stories, or at least I think I do, but as the host, I have to remember that the people listening haven't heard them yet. So.
Right. I get to repeat myself. I love telling the stories, so I'm happy to do so.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that it is something you enjoy doing. The more I read other people's work, the more I realize that some of the best teachers out there are telling the same story over and over again. We just maybe don't realize it until we read their second book or the third book. But wait a minute, I think I've heard this story before, haven't I?
Right.
Is that just me?
Nope. I who comes to mind right away is Wayne Dyer, who we both enjoy. And he tells a lot of the same stories. And when he starts to tell them again, and I know he passed away last year, but I still listen to his podcasts and I love to read back through his books. But I'm like, oh, here comes the story about, this fuzzy elephant. He has these funny little stories, but I love them. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to have a grandfather who late in life, his name was Grandpa Claude, and we were never really sure if he was related, married into the family, or just passing through. We were never really sure about Grandpa Claude, but he would tell us stories, and we would go, Grandpa Claude, you told us that story yesterday, and his answer would be yes, and I'm going to tell it to you again today.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
That was Grandpa Claude. But you're right. He has such great stories, and you don't really mind hearing them again, even though you know the ending. I think my favorite one of his is the story about the butterfly that came and landed on him for half a day, I think.
Yes, and he carried it. Yeah, he carried it home on his finger, right?
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Yeah.
I love that too.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Robin is one of the people who early on, she talks about being intuitive, and I guess I'm one of the better examples of just how intuitive she is, because for pretty much ever since I've known her, she's been telling me, Max, you're more than a carnival ride seller.
Yep.
And she was the first of many who would point that out to me until eventually I would listen and realize that even though I don't or didn't see myself as having that big of a story to tell at the time, other people out there in the world are impacted by those of us who don't listen to those voices that are trying to scare us out of sharing our light, and we go out there and actually do something, however small it may seem to us at the time. So thank you for that, Robin. And one of the reasons why I really, really promote your website to people, because you do get at that thing that's down inside us that most of us are afraid to talk about or think about, that really is the reason we're here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is the reason we're here. It's absolutely the reason. And I was just reflecting on the funny part about you're more than a carnival salesman. You're more than a carnival barker. And I'm remembering there's some art I made around that time about you, and people who know us might not realize that that's actually what you did for a while or still do. But my friends will think it was just a Robinism, because I talk a little like Dr. Phil a lot, Dr. Phil. So you're more than a carnival ride salesman, but you're here to shine. And every time I would talk to you, I would hear that again and again and again. So yeah, I'm super thrilled that you're doing this and being an inspiration and, sharing your wisdom and love. It's so great.
Yeah, well, I'm still helping people sell amusement equipment, but now I do see that as my day job.
That's right.
A funny story. I recently won this thing called the Amtrak Rider in Residency, and when they asked me where I wanted to go, I said I'm going to New York City for the holidays. And half of my friends think I'm crazy, and half of my friends think I'm brave, and some think that I should just go back to bed and think about it some more. But I was having some trouble with money, with where's the money going to come from. And I finally remembered some of the things you had told me, and I just released it, and I stopped thinking about it from a point of view of lack. And a friend of a family showed up. He needed us to put on an event. They needed us to
you have a lot of echo, Max.
Yeah, I know. Is it better?
Not really.
Hold up.
Yeah, good now.
It went down?
Yeah, that's good.
Well, that's the beauty of recording stuff. Are you still there, Robin?
I'm still here, my friend.
Okay.
I'm just being quiet.
But they asked us to take care of an event, and we ended up subcontracting the rides. And just this week, they ended up delivering the money I needed so that I can go to New York and enjoy my time there. But it was only because of the stuff that you taught me about this whole idea that it's a mindset of lack or abundance that determines whether or not we can receive the things we need to.
Yep, absolutely. And, where we place our focus, our attention grows. And we are super powerful manifestors. Whether you believe in spiritual stuff or what I sometimes affectionately call woo-woo or not, all around us, we can see this principle that like attracts like. There's just certain things about it. And you can find your own way of seeing this, even down to static and lint. So when I hold a story that is based on lack, I can't help but call in more lack to me. That's just the case. So are you still with me? Yeah, it sounds like you tucked
I'm still with you. I was
Okay.
listening to you. I thought you had another point to make. I'm sorry.
I do. I was listening to your microphone and I thought perhaps it had gone down your shirt or something. I could hear that. Or, I hope it's not clipped to your pants because I don't want to say where that went then.
No.
But that is the principle, like attracts like. And if I believe I am unable to manifest, to call in or to earn money or to that good things happen for me, that's kind of what I see. And coming back to our friend Wayne Dyer, he talked about that all the time. You'll see it when you believe it. And it's just a different way to look at things.
All right, once again, we're here with Robin Hallett. She's an intuitive healer, a rock star reader, a spiritual teacher, and an awesome artist. You can find her at robinhallett.com. And guys, right before continuing this conversation, for all you listeners out there, if you have a passion, something that fuels your curiosity, well, on top of getting fascinating interviews such as this one straight to your inbox, when you subscribe to our free Creative Magic community, you will get super cool exclusive gifts in return, such as the ebook Happiness Quotes by the ambassador of happiness herself, Maura Sweeney, and also an exclusive conversation with two of my favorite people, Alex Okoroji and Max Ivy himself, as we talk about the influence of friends and college education on our lives, the competitiveness in a crowded field, the importance of business and financial education in arts and entrepreneurship, and more. And also, Alex has a special gift for you inside. I promise you will get inspired and entertained. Subscribe for free at frederickbuy.com. That's Frederick with a C, buy like bye-bye.com. Take it away, Max.
Well, we are here with my good friend Robin Hallett, who I just really find it hard to come up with the right words for you, my friend. Why don't you talk a little bit about how you help people get to this point where they can shine their light without the fear and without the monsters talking them out of it?
Well, in order to do that, it just has to be a simple inward exercise that we do together, or I guide people through, on my blog. You have to go inside and find the stories you tell, the things that feel so real. You said the monsters, I call them the dragons. They tell stories that feel so real and so convincing, and we believe them because they're inside our own heads, inside our own hearts, inside our own bellies, this fear and nervousness about shining. So it takes a certain amount of courage to be willing to go inside and look and then just find the story. Like, I've always been a bad earner. Nobody wants what I have to offer. People don't like the way I look. That's a big story. I'm not successful. My parents said I'd never make it. This is a stupid idea. My teacher told me this was a dumb idea. There's so many stories we carry inside of us, and those are obstacles. And when you think a thought long enough, it turns into a belief. There's just no two ways about it, So we have to go there and liberate that little nugget, let's say, and then start to question it and really practice the awareness that this isn't all of it. This isn't all of me. And what would I love to be doing? And slowly and gently. And these things take time. It's not an overnight quick fix. These things take time. And eventually you get to know there's a little negative voice that's spewing its bad advice. It's inside of you. And you start to practice not being truth. It's not the truth. The truth is you have something to bring forward that only you can do. And you can look back to yourself in kindergarten, just like me. You can look back to yourself in second grade, third grade, fifth grade, college, and say, all along, this thing that I want to do has been present in my heart. That's what blows me away. And since 2000, I've been talking to people all around the world. Max, not once has that not been the case. Everybody has that.
Yeah, we all have those stories that we tell ourselves. Some of them started off being told to us by our parents or our teachers, but we made them our stories and continued to repeat them back to ourselves. And that's how we got to where we are. Question that comes to my mind as somebody who teaches people how to try to rewrite the stories, do you find it's something that you do and it's done, or something that you do and at some point it's going to come back again and try to convince you that you're wrong and its story is right?
So it's a voice. You're asking about the negative story or the negative voice inside?
What I'm saying is in your opinion, do they generally go away and stay gone for good, or is it something that you will continue to have to work on? You
will continue to have to work on it. And I think that's a good piece of news to know, because a lot of people have a story like, let's say, when I get there, and let's say there for somebody else is a New York Times bestseller, right? Then all of my problems will be gone. I will never judge myself again. I'll never have confidence problems. And all the success I'm waiting for will happen once that happens. And people usually find out they get there, and none of that is true. And so the voice stays with us. And what if we could just know that there's a part of us that's sort of like the inner opponent, always trying, and we don't have to go there.
Yeah, I asked that question that way. I know I did it very clumsily, but
no.
But I asked it because I believe one of the big, dangerous, destructive myths out there is that you can get to a place where you're healed, and then you never have to discuss or think about these hurts or these bad stories ever again. And I think that's a big myth that causes many people a lot of heartache that they could avoid if they knew that these stories are going to be with you in some form from now on. I think that I agree with you. I think it is kind of freeing to know that you don't get to a place where they're gone. It's just my opinion, though. So that's why I was trying to ask it that way.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it'll be with us all along. There are certain spiritual teachers and certain people who meditate and do these intensive practices. And sometimes they will say it doesn't happen to them anymore. But I think the grounded reality for most of us is that we're all going to have times where we worry. Just like you won this award, you won the Amtrak ticket, and then the worry showed up. I mean, every new happening will bring a new edge. So to me, it's just an easier way to ride, so to speak, to just know that. And when the negative voice comes, you just practice. And yeah. I love the sports announcer analogy. That's what I tell people. You pretend there's an inner sports announcer in your head. Now I'm telling people to have voices in their heads, but have many voices in your head. But it's just like, oh, here comes Max. He won this major award, and now he's worrying about money. Well, Max, you just kind of point it out to yourself. Well, Max, that's not the truth. You believe in miracles. This itself was a miracle. This happening was already a miracle. Can't wait to see what happens next. Can't wait to see how the money shows up. I'm looking forward to it. So you use your tension or your upset to turn it around. And I think that is awesome. It works for me and works for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people I've helped. So it's fun.
Yeah, I've run into a lot of creative types since I've been writing, and a lot of them have this idea that once they finish their first book, they'll never have that fear again that their work isn't good enough to put it out into the world. And I tell them, no, that's a big fat lie. The next book will scare you. I'm sorry. Maybe it's my voice level. I will fix it. I tell them, that's a big fat lie, because I have yet to meet somebody who doesn't at least hear some of those same thoughts every time they go to send a book to a publisher, or a query email to an agent, or even a song track to YouTube. It just seems like those fears are always there and they never go away. And I like to think about the line from John Wayne in The Flying Leathernecks when the young pilot asked him, do you still get scared when you take off? And he told the young kid, he said, if you ever pull that throttle back and you aren't scared, it's time to turn in your wings.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the smartest thing. I was just thinking the same. It helps us to know what we're really going for. I was noticing inside myself this morning, I'm launching something for December for the Love Posse and offering. And I had those thoughts too. It's like, Robin, nobody wants what you're going to put out. This is dumb. People won't like it, and I hear those things and they kind of crack me up now because I don't believe it. It doesn't scare me anymore, but I still have the voice that comes up, and what it does is help me to remember my core philosophy, which is stay true to me. I'm here to shine in a way nobody else can. I think of all the people who reach out and tell me how much my work has helped them. And it's just like, pulling back that throttle and feeling the fear, and then remembering all your amazing training and every success you've had and all the good that's come, and choosing to believe. I mean, do you want to get in the plane and choose to believe this is the day you crash? Or do you want to get in the plane and believe this is the day you fly, right? It's such a great analogy. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Seems we have had this conversation.
Echo, Max.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on today. I'm having, I guess this is the equivalent of a bad hair day. I don't know. But we've had this conversation from both sides. I can remember when you told me that you created the business cards with your artwork on the back of them. And when you went and gave a talk, you were afraid to hand them out, and a friend of yours had to actually hand them out for you.
That's right. My bestie, she was there with me, and I was like, I am not handing these out. She said, what happened to the stack of cards? I said, I threw them in the garbage. I ran out the back and threw them in the garbage because I was too scared. And she laughed so hard, and then she said, give me the rest. And she started handing them out. And it's just sometimes you're reminding me of the importance of being with friends and other people who are doing things in a soulful way and who are willing to admit that they too get scared at times. It's important to be with people who are real, who you can be real with. So yeah, that was a huge day for me. That was so funny.
It's one of my favorite stories of yours, and I hope it didn't embarrass you to share it, but
No, I don't. I mean, I think of that's the thing. That's the brilliance of it, of the example is you're so fired up. You're so gung-ho. You're giving your first public talk. It's such a big deal. You do feel like you've arrived, and you have all these fantasies about what's going to happen. And then you show up there and the dragon inside of you is saying it's bad advice, and you don't know how, that's all it is. I'm going into a bigger arena. And of course the nervousness is here. You don't know how to do that yet. And so you're like, everybody hates it. and I should throw these out. Why did I ever do this? You know, so you listen to that voice, and this is what derails us. So I don't mind at all. I printed 800 cards. I mean, I was so gung-ho, and I probably threw out 200, a big stack of 200 before she caught me and said, stop it. Let's go. Let's hand these out. And she stood in this long line, and she was like, do you want a little mini reading? They were really cute cards with little messages and artwork on them. You know, it wasn't just like a business card. They were really sweet. So, yeah, it's a great story.
And to kind of balance it out, what was it? I think a year and a half ago now, I sent Robin an email because I had been invited or accepted to do an interview on a guy's show who, for some reason, I found out that he had a listening audience of 50,000 people, and that just basically threw me off track for a few hours, and until Robin reminded me that it's just another interview, just another conversation. It doesn't matter how many people are listening to you, and that allowed me to do that interview, and now, you know, I don't even pay attention to how many people are going to listen to something I'm going to do, but if by some accident I find out, it's not going to bother me anymore. You know, I've learned that lesson of the size. The size is another way we fool ourselves. We think things are bigger and scarier than they are because the audience is larger, regardless of the fact that we're still doing the exact same thing we did yesterday in front of 20 people.
Exactly. That's so true. And that's the way, you know, it really is. And I think it's actually, I mean, I'll go a step further and say it's none of our business how many people are in the audience, because, you know, that's not the part of us that's interested in that stuff, whether it scares us or it needs to be a certain number in order for us to believe it's important. That's not really coming from the part of us that's connected to something greater in the world, that's here to serve. And
right.
You just can't.
Your audience sizes.
Yeah.
It's all about the ego. It's not about serving.
Right. And I think it's important for people early on to know that. And you can have a really small audience and have the most amazing reach and connection and be of benefit. Yeah.
I once again, we're here with Robin Hallett. She's an intuitive healer, a rock star reader, a spiritual teacher. And you can find her and also an awesome artist. I will add an awesome artist. You can find her at robinhallett.com. And guys, right before continuing this conversation, we would like to thank those who pledged to our Patreon page. You are really helpful to the show, and we are grateful for your help. In case you're wondering, Patreon is a simple way for you to contribute to the network and this podcast. Every single month and get super cool exclusive rewards in return. I promise you will love the perks. Our Patreon page is at frederickby.com. That's Frederick with a C, by like bye-bye.com, and click Patreon in the header. Money is used to cover our production costs and editing time and sharing to the different podcast channels, and you can contribute for as low as $1. So that's frederickby.com and click Patreon in the header. All right, take it away, Max.
Okay. I'm going to keep going forward because I don't know another way to do it. Sorry about all the stuff, Robin.
I haven't heard an echo, but so maybe my ears are special, I guess.
I don't know. Maybe it's just on Frederick's end. But so that I don't forget to ask you, what project are you working on now, and what who is the people that would benefit from it if some of our listeners would be interested in signing up for it or purchasing it or whatever it is that you're working on now? Because I know you're always up to something.
I am always up to something. It's true. And we just wrapped a course, and we're beginning another in December on the 1st called December Love and Prayers. And when I say prayers, I'm not saying the religious-y kind. This is a gentle-paced e-course that is just daily little inspiration and helps you stay through the holiday season, stay connected to your own heart and connected to what really matters, which is not always easy when you have family, drama and world drama. And, business is always challenging in the holiday season too. So that's my intention, is to support all of that. So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I have taken a couple of your online courses before, and I can tell people they are always in sync with your heart-centered approach, and that you.
Yeah. You still there, Max?
Still here, Max. We don't hear you. Can't hear you. All right, Robin, let me ask you this. You read that as a kid you felt helpless.
Out there
Hey, Max.
All right, Max. I'm going to ask Robin a question while you fix your mic. Okay.
All right, go for it.
You write that as a kid you often felt helpless and unsafe around the people who were supposed to love you the most. And you say you were at the mercy of their fluctuating moods and addictions. I think that's an interesting fact. And talk to us a little bit about that, because I think many people are going through that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're born in this family, and things don't always go like we'd like them to go. And a lot of what I say is upon reflection as later in life as an adult. I think when you're little, you don't have the capacity or the awareness. You're just noticing that people are mad at you or they're not kind with you. And these are your family members, or maybe you have siblings that are, mean to you or tease you and that kind of stuff. And I have a saying, nobody escapes childhood unscathed. No matter what, you have stories, no matter what, whether it's the kids in school or it's a teacher or it's, your parents or family members. We've all had things happen to us that affect how we see the world. And I think it's really fascinating as you go into being an adult and you want to shine in the world, let's say, or you're an entrepreneur, or I call it a heart-centered soulpreneur. You want to do something to be of service. Well, guess what? Those stories, those voices, those negative beliefs about yourself, because the people who were supposed to love you the most didn't shine a light towards you in a way that was helpful. You have now all this stuff inside of you. So these voices are there, like nobody likes it. Or I was just working with a client who's a singer-songwriter, and she talked about walking out on the stage and the people in the front row now are on their cell phones texting away. And she said that place is so difficult where it seems like people aren't interested in you, but they're there at your show. They're there in your audience and they're acting, how to get the attention. So these are stories that come out of childhood. And if we can work on that stuff, we can get free. It's amazing how true that is.
Yeah. Well, can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, so this is one of the great reasons for having a co-host, is especially somebody as good at it as Frederick is, because he always has better questions than I do anyway. And for some reason if for some reason I'm not here, he will carry the ball for me. So thank you, Frederick. It was a great question.
Thank you.
And you are. I think it's interesting that your singer-songwriter talked about something that's even starting to bother some of the acknowledged superstars of the music industry. We've seen recent meltdowns on stage by singers who were disturbed by people in the audience taking photos and videos because. My brother likes to say if they don't want people recording them for posterity, they should lower their prices, but that's a whole nother subject. I recently had a conversation with a friend of mine. His name is Romeo Crowe. He's from the UK. He's a singer, and whenever he hears that I will sing live for interviews, he's like, Max, how do you do that? That's scary. And I always ask him, it doesn't seem scary to me. And by the way, you perform in front of 3,000 or 4,000 people at a time. Why would you think that's scary? So I think it's interesting what we all think of as being scary. Sometimes the monsters don't really reflect the story that they have behind them. It just seems weird that way.
Yep, it's true. So if we can look at it, though, and get clear, we can go out there and sing the songs or paint the paintings or show up and give the talk, because you might have something. One of the first public talks I ever gave was in a juice shop, like a healthy restaurant, and they had a refrigerator on the fritz. So the entire time I was talking, there was something in the back going really loud. And it's almost like having someone interrupt you the entire time. And it was really hard. And that was the place, like, if you don't realize that you have this story that nobody wants to hear you, and then a refrigerator's going crazy, look out, So
yeah, it becomes an omen. It becomes a sign that you weren't meant to be there in the first place.
Exactly. So it's kind of fun. I like being me and working on this, and I love the people I help, and I think it's great. This is the way we become successful in the ways that we want to be.
But by the way, which do you find more difficult as far as the fear is concerned? Is sharing your artwork and your creativity and your jewelry, or doing your coaching and teaching?
I think now the teaching has a bigger edge, and because I'm doing bigger and bigger things and I'm speaking more. And so that has a bigger edge, where the other stuff feels super easy. In fact, I have stopped making jewelry long time ago. I guess I haven't told you that, but so it's the bigger edge is to speak and to teach and to help people and to address stuff that they might not be ready to hear. My friends do call me a truth teller, and I think sometimes that's tough for people.
Yeah, a lot of times people will say they want to hear the truth, but that doesn't mean they want to hear it or that they want to hear it right this second.
And that means that they get mad at you when you tell them, and that's another edge. So when people get mad at me, I mean, I know by now what that is, but it's not always pleasant. Or I might write something on my blog, and it's not personal. Of course, I'm not sitting down and saying, this is about so-and-so and so-and-so. But if people get upset, they take it personally, and then they make it personal in the comments, So sometimes that's an edge for me. And what are you going to do? Yeah.
The thing you have to remember about that, Robin, is they say that a truly great, gifted speaker and writer can craft their words in a way where each person that hears them thinks that they were written or said just for that one person.
Sure.
So the fact that you have these people who think you're speaking directly to them, even if it's them thinking it's in a critical voice you're speaking to them, to me, that's just, that's impressive. I mean, that's one of those wow moments for me, because it just seems like if you can write a blog post that was written for, your general audience, and 10 or 20 or 50 people all think you wrote it specifically about them, to me, that's I don't know. I can't really think of what to say, how to say that, but to me, that really shows your gift.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I agree. That's something I'm told a lot, actually, that it feels like you wrote this just for me. So there's two sides to that, right? And I want to focus on the people who want to do the work and show up excited, and, they're in the world making a difference. So that is just wonderful to me. That's everything. In fact, I have to give myself time off, because I could do this 24/7, as you know.
Yeah, I think that is something that most people don't realize, is that just because you're doing something you love and you have passion for it, and you're curious about it, and you're constantly just deep into learning more about it, practicing it, helping other people, is that you can tire yourself out. You can put so much yourself into what you're doing that it drains you of your energy, and you have to take a step back. Sometimes you have to say that you have to give less of yourself in order to keep giving more, I think is the way you usually put it.
Absolutely. That's our practice anyway.
Well, I do my best to try to say no, but it's still not a word I'm real good at.
No, you're not good at saying no, but that's okay. You have a big heart.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Robin. Let me ask you this. For all these entrepreneurs and artists out there who would like to live off their art, their work, there's a lot of fear associated with it, such as uncertainty. And oftentimes it's uncertainty towards money. You don't get a steady paycheck like a regular job. What would you tell people? And how do you deal with uncertainty? How do you remain calm in uncertainty?
It's my favorite thing, actually, uncertainty. And I think that we cannot be attached to a story of being successful a certain way. Early on, Max said, I still have my day job. And, we have to embrace that there are things we need to do to earn money and to show up and shine as ourselves everywhere we go, to trust and believe that what's meant for us is always meant for us, that the abundance flows to us so long as we're authentically showing up in our lives. Things cannot help but go well for us, and we have to be on point. So a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, they have to get a hold of their money situation, and that means look at the numbers and be good about a budget. Things like that. It's not everybody's favorite, but to honor the income that is flowing in. And let's say as an artist, you open your Etsy shop or you have a book sale, and people will greet those successes with such a poo-poo attitude, oh, well, it was only one, or the launch only sold 10, and people get very upset about it, but you have to honor these things and treat them like they're great successes and look forward to more. But at the same time, a lot of great entrepreneurs will say, I had a day job for like 10 years. I mean, like Max called me a jewelry maker. I haven't made jewelry for about 5 years now, but I supported myself through that, making jewelry. And I was grateful for that work.
Yeah, I think a lot of it really comes down to people just don't realize that there is no certainty, and certainty in itself is really a false. It's a falsehood. I mean, I can't really think of anything that you can do. I mean, even people who are born into money, there are ways that the money can disappear on people. I think the desire for certainty causes us more trouble than it would if we would just admit that it's not there, it never was there, and it never will be there.
That's a great point, and I share about my abundance. I have a whole abundance series on my website. If you just go to my site or Google Robin Hallett Abundance Series, you will find it. And I tell that very story, that inheritance doesn't always predict, future comfort or safety. And what does is becoming a steward of abundance, a good steward of abundance, where you tune into your own heart and gut. You're awake. I mean, you're looking at your numbers. What I call it, the nut, what your nut is, and you're honoring your expenses. You're not going unconscious and spending and buying things. And part of that is being very discerning about what you need to put your money towards for your business. Not all expenses are created equal. And I think we're all the talent. Let's show up and shine. But the abundance provider is not us. And that's just a concept that has really been helpful to me as I have gone forward and left my day job behind, so to speak. But yeah, it's such a great practice to have.
We got a few minutes left, Max. Just tell you.
Okay. All right. I think the technical things have bothered me a little bit because, as both of you know, I hardly ever run out of words or questions. So,
Robin, talk to us a little bit about your, because your website is full of color, it's full of art, obviously, and you have your classes, and mm-hmm. how does it? I'm pretty sure it represents you, doesn't it?
Yes. And people always tell me that my house looks like my website. The way I dress looks like my house and my website. I don't know how that happens, but I guess I'm strongly aligned with my brand, you would say.
Yeah. And December is love plus prayer, daily moments of peace for the holiday season. Talk to us a little bit about that.
That's right. So what we're going to do is it's a gentle little email every morning where you receive a centering prayer from me. And it's not prayer in the religious icky sense. It's just like, help me to be strong and true today. Help me to show up and shine as the talent in my life. Help me to stay on my game, those kinds of prayers and affirmations, and then gentle intentions. Like today, I intend to be kind with that one crispy family member I have to see at dinner. You know how it is, I'm sure. So just, or I intend to keep to my peace. So I'm going to stay in the center of my own heart. So this is something that my love posse has been asking for a long time. And finally, I'm doing it. So it's super exciting.
Right. And talk to us a little bit about the classes that you have in January 2016 and just the e-courses that you give. Because there's a Lightworker Love class. And then, go ahead.
Yeah. There's a Lightworker Love class that's coming up in the new year. And for a long time, I've been offering entrepreneurial support to people who are doing soul work like me, heart-centered yoga people, any kind of practitioner, anybody who's a coach you're in a heart-centered business basically. And all these things are so challenging to do. Like selling is really hard to do because nobody wants to appear slimy and icky. And so all of my offerings have a common theme, and that is to support you standing tall and deeply rooted in who you are and believing in yourself. So the Lightworker Love is going to be fantastic. And there are a couple free offerings there too, because I really want to give as much away as I can. So there's an inner child healing. You asked me a little while ago. There's a free inner child healing you can do with me for 5 days to really do that work we were talking about a while ago. And then there's a healing practitioner course, which is ongoing for people who want to have a practice helping others. It's everything you need to know from soup to nuts, as they say.
Awesome.
So I love teaching. You can tell I love to teach.
Yeah. And remind us your website.
RobinHallett.com, www.robinhallett.com.
All right. Last words, Max.
Well, Robin, thank you for coming on and sharing a few minutes with me. It's been way too long since we have exchanged emails or been on Skype together, so it's good to hear your voice again, and great to know that you're out there doing so much to help others become that person that they're meant to be. So thank you so much for that.
I appreciate you both for this opportunity, and I love that you're doing this together. So thanks a ton. All right.
Thank you, Robin. Have a great day. And thank you again for this interview. We're honored, and much success to you in the future.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
Right. Okay. Bye-bye. All right, Max. So how was it? What'd you learn, man?
I don't know. It's always great to talk to Robin. I wish I knew what was causing the stupid echo, because it seemed like every time I started to get rolling, it threw me off center. But then that's the reason why we work so well together, and why I really would not want to try to do this by myself. But as far as the talk with Robin, it seems like so many people that are successful have done it because they've figured out that the stories they tell themselves, or they've used to tell themselves, just aren't true, and they find a way to tell the monster to go somewhere else and bother somebody else and let them do what it is that they came here to do.
Right. I think one thing that I love to talk about is how she mentioned how many entrepreneurs had a day job on the side for such a long time. And I think it's important for people to know that, things don't just happen. And, you see how it is with our podcast and our network. And, we talk extensively about it, off the air, obviously, that's the way it is. And I truly believe I truly, truly, truly believe in the slow growth type of businesses. And the reason is I've been on the fast side where it's, make money fast and, you know what I mean? And when you're over ambitious, when you're too zealous, I don't know if that's an English word, but if you're too, I would say over ambitious, it hurts you. It will hurt you because you will make a stupid mistake. I guarantee you that, and for me, I believe in learning my craft and the slow growth. The slow growth is a pain in the butt oftentimes, to be honest, because, you want to grow as fast as you can. But that's life, and that's the way it is. And I'm kind of my mindset is I'm getting out of the way of nature. I do what I can now. I do what I can do best now. And you know what? At the end of the day, I think that the cream rises to the top all the time anyway. So, and I let nature take its course. That's just my mindset.
Yeah. Well, I think you have the right approach to it. And yeah, a lot of people have day jobs, or they have the current end phrase is alternative revenue streams. I guess it sounds better than day job, but they're,
yeah.
Elizabeth Gilbert says that even after she wrote Eat, Pray, Love, she was still working for magazines and submitting articles to magazines because she knew that was how she paid the bills before anybody knew who the heck she was.
Really?
Yeah. So a lot of people that, they have those other sources of income, or if they're lucky, their spouse or a family member has those sources of income, or perhaps they're in college, or they have access to grants that they go out and get, so they have income. But most people that are doing something creative, something from their heart, as opposed to something where you focus strictly on the business and getting the income as fast as possible, like you were talking about. Most people that do stuff that comes from their heart, they have to have some way of supporting it, because, as you mentioned in your question, not all the time will your book or your movie or your album be paying those bills.
Mm-hmm. Especially in this crazy indie world now, it's like everybody's in indie something, indie musician, indie podcaster, indie writer, indie, there are so many indie people, and anybody that is anyone, can do anything, really.
Yeah, I'm an indie publicist. That's one of my new titles. I'm an indie publicist. Yeah. I only work for indie authors, artists, and musicians. So it's just a little joke. I won't tell you what one of my friends called me earlier, because it was not a nice word, but it basically said the same thing.
Okay.
But yeah, in the indie world, where there are a lot of people, artists, sculptors, authors, painters, lots of people that, they just have a dream, and they haven't let their situation or the economy or their family kill it. They just continue to do it when and where possible. And if someday they become famous, fine. If someday their grandkids see it in a box and wonder what the heck was that, that'll be fine too, because for most of those people, including myself, most of the time it's more about doing the work than it is about getting paid for it. And fortunately or unfortunately, that's why a lot of creative people don't get paid, because it's not about the income. Mm-hmm. It may become about the income after their third or fourth book or their second movie, but most of them, they start out, I want to create a great game for the iPhone, or I have this vision in my mind of a painting I'm going to do, and they care less if somebody buys it. That's usually where it starts.
Right. And what's your mindset about this thing where, there are so many people, and how do you define yourself? How do you step out of the crowd? You know what I mean? How do you stand out from the crowd? And because it's very, very crowded out there, what's your mindset around it?
Well, first, you have to remember that regardless of how many people there are doing something, that you are an individual, and while it may not seem like it, you have an unusual way of saying the same things other people are saying, or seeing the same things other people are seeing. And it's crazy how you hear of these people who they go to doctor after doctor, and nobody ever knows what's wrong with them. And finally, they go to that one doctor who knows just by talking to them or just by having a short examination what's wrong with them. And it's that way with blogs and podcasts and books. People can be exposed to the same message hundreds of times and never get it. But when they hear it from that person in your unique way of saying it or seeing it, then you unlock a door and they get unstuck and they go out and do something crazy, amazing with their lives. So that's the thing you have to remember. You could be that one person that they're waiting on, and until they meet you and find out what you think about it, or what your take is on their problem, they're never going to have success. They're going to continue to be stuck until they run into that one person who can use the words that they understand.
Yeah. For me, it's really the cream rises to the top. If you do the hustle, if you do the work every single day, the little steps and keeping the big picture in mind, but doing the little steps and at the end, I think there's kind of, and I'm not talking about magical thinking, but it seems to me that sometimes the universe kind of pushes you, helps you when you first start. You know what I mean? When you first start to dig, let's put it that way, or to turn the wheel or something. But yeah, I think for me, there are a lot of people, but there are not, in my opinion, a lot of dedicated people. Does that make sense? Yeah, you have a lot of podcasters, but I don't know if you have a lot. I don't think you have a lot of dedicated podcasters, for example, or dedicated writers, or their goals are not the same as mine or yours, or et cetera, et cetera. It depends on how do you define success for yourself, obviously. But, I don't know. That's just my mindset.
Well, a few weeks back, you told me that, I think it was you who told me this, that you read a stat somewhere that something like, only 11% of podcasts make it past 8 episomes.
It was actually, it was an old stat from, I think 2014 or something like that. It said like that, 90% of all podcasts don't last more than 7 episodes.
Yeah. So, that right there shows that a lot of times it's about dedication. It's about consistency. It's about continuing to do the work. And, if you think about it, 8 episodes, that's 2 months. That's about where it goes from being fun to being a process.
Hey man, I'm doing all these interviews, but nobody's listening, or I'm not making a dime off of it type thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And now let's see how you react.
Yeah. 2 months. That's about the time you go from fun to, when is this going to pay off? That actually makes sense now that I think about it.
So guys, if you are an Amazon shopper, when you use our Amazon links at frederickby.com, Amazon kicks back a few bucks to this show and it helps cover production costs. No additional cost to you, no hidden fees, no BS, no nothing. So if you like what you hear, you can help by going over to frederickby.com. That's Frederick with a C, buylikebabai.com, and click on the blog page. In the sidebar for all your online shopping, it is really that simple, and bookmark it to find it easier. Also, we're looking for new hosts to the network. If you're a positively oriented and with a podcaster with an entrepreneurial spirit, we're looking for you. We're looking for people who have a passion and a message to share, and we can lead you by the hand. That's right. It's Creative Magic Network. Just go to frederickby.com once again and click Become a Host in the header. Also, Creative Magic Store, design with meaning. It's meant to inspire you, tap into your intuition, and add a little bit of magic into your life. And Max, you have 2 wonderful books in the Creative Magic Store, right?
Yep. They can go over there and get Leading You Out of the Darkness into the Light, a blind man's inspirational guide to success, that comes with 11 actionable exercises and email support where they can report on their progress to someone who will listen and support their journey. And then It's Not the Cookie, It's the Bag, an easy-to-follow guide to weight loss success, where I share the lessons learned prior to having gastric surgery and adjustments I've had to make in my life now that I'm living with my new body over 4 years later.
Awesome. And this podcast is free every time you download it on iTunes, Stitcher, whatever platform you of your choice. Please go over there, subscribe. It is listener supported. Tell a friend, leave a 5-star review. It really helps a brother out. And last words, Max?
It's just, I find out just how blessed I've been with how many great people I've met, how many interviews I've done, and It's cool to be able to connect with people like Robin and give them a few minutes to share some of the things that work for them and that have helped me and that hopefully will help others out there. So
all right.
After listening to us three, I hope you will ask yourself the question that started this show off, and that is if we can do it, if Robin can do it, then what is your excuse?
Awesome. And don't forget, live with purpose, passion, fire, and love. Bye-bye. You've been listening to What's Your Excuse with Max Ivy, known around the world as the Blind Blogger. For more information, you can go to theblindblogger.net or frederickby.com. That's Frederick with a C, by like bye-bye.com.